Welcome back to my channel, Scale Model Kit Review Studio, and welcome back to another FanHome Build the Enterprise D. That's right, this is from Star Trek, The Next Generation. This is the largest metal and plastic Enterprise kit out there. Do not pass it up. Head over to FanHome today and subscribe to this build. I put a direct link in the description below, right here, and also above. Let's get started. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review Studio, and welcome back to another fantastic installment of the build, the Star Trek, The Next Generation, U.S.S Enterprise D. And this is a fantastic build. It's the only type of its kind out there. And if you haven't started your subscription to this, I suggest you do it today. I put a direct link in the description below. Now, I am working on pack 15, and pack 15 I received 4 more stages, stage 55 through 58. Now we're going to start building on to the saucer, building on, putting panels. I mean, some of the structure for the upper part of the saucer, be working on some of the nacelles and such. Some more circuit boards and everything going on there. So let's look at the magazine here first, and then we'll highlight the build instructions after that. Just as before, we continue here with a list of the TV episodes. So we're actually on Season 3, Episode 19, Captain's Holiday. And that aired in 1990. Season 3, Episode 20, Tin Man. Season 3, Episode 21, Hollow Pursuits. Season 3, Episode 22, The Most Toys. Season 3, Episode 23, Sarek. Wonderful there. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the build instructions next. So we'll look at the build instructions for stage 55. Here's all the parts that came with 55. And for 55, we'll return to the main bridge assembly that were completed in issues 1 and 2 and install this onto our saucer. So that's what we'll be doing here. Give us a nice detail area there on what we'll be actually assembling here. Again, installing the bridge fully, and in order to install the bridge fully, we have to actually remove one of the circuit boards temporarily, install some more screws for the bridge, and then put the circuit board back down. Then we will work on the impulse engines themselves, both sides, and the battery box for the nacelle. And the battery box for the nacelle. Let me get the parts, so I'll be right back. Here's the parts for stage 55. Let's get a closer look. AP, BM, and FM screws. We have the impulse engines and those mounts for those. We have the battery box and switch for the nacelle, the cover, and one of the deck panels. Very nice graphics here. This is made of metal. Very nice. And before we begin, I'll go ahead and show you what the saucer looks like, where we ended at stage 54, and very nice, as you can see. So we're going to be completing this pretty much, putting the next components on the frames here. And the next thing will be this part right here that we just received in this stage, and that's simply going to go down right on top just like that. And I'll have to put 6 FM screws on the other side. Be right back. And there you go, all 6 screws are installed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Next I'll be mounting the bridge onto the saucer, and that's going to go down just like that. But first we have to feed in our wires, our LED light wires, in a certain way. And you can see we have 3 different sets of wires that will be fed through. So according to the instructions, we're going to feed a couple sets over here on the right, and I'll show you that. Okay. This set here, the longer one, wire number C is going to go through right there. And wire number A is also going to go through that area. Okay. So they're both fed through there. And then the other side, wire number B is going to go right here. Okay. And we'll make sure all those are out of the way. And then we can lay this down and start putting our screws in on the other side. And you can see on this side it's all very confusing looking, all the wiring, but what we actually done is we installed this panel right here going up, and we're going to have to remove this circuit board. It's only held down with 2 screws right now temporarily to put in the other screws underneath it for the bridge. I'll show you that here in a second. Okay, I'll update you what I've gotten done so far with securing the bridge on the upper deck panels. I did install all the screws that they highlighted in the step B, the second step, without removing the circuit board just yet. Okay, so I'll show you what I put in. Just move them down here a little bit. I did put in these 2 screws here, and they secure the panel down. They don't go through any of the framework. And then I put these 2 next, and then I put 2 more in. They go through the frames, and if you look on the back side of this, I put 2 more in right there. I put in 2 right here, 2 over there, 2 right here, and 2 over there. So pretty much we secured the bridge to this frame, and we also secured the edges of the bridge over here with these frames, 2 on each side. Now just to kind of highlight the wires I fed through. This is one set of wires here. Wire number A, I put a yellow piece of tape on it so it helps me identify that. And wire number B is right here. And wire number C. Okay, so that's all those wire bundles. I'm sorry, that's not C. Right here's C. Wire C. Okay, and that just lets me know that I did not lose those wires anywhere. They're not stuck under any of the frame panels or anything like that. So I know they're all freed up and ready to be plugged in on a circuit board as necessary. I just, with this one here, I just kind of taped them together to get them out of the way so I can show you better what I've done. Now the next step that's going to happen is I'm going to remove this circuit board, and maybe I failed to mention this, but all the screws I used just now were the BM screws, and I did use a little bit of 3-in-1 oil on each of those screws. It just helps them, engage into the panel. Okay, because I have heard of some of the other builders having screws break off on them, and I think using oil prevents that. Alright, so I'll go ahead and take out the 2 screws on this circuit board because we have some more screws that need to be installed for the bridge. I'll be back. Okay, with the circuit board removed out of the way, nothing was unplugged. I installed 4 screws right here directly under the board, and those are once again the BM screws. Directly to the side of the board I installed 2 more screws, one right here and one right there. Same on the other side. 1 screw right there and the other screw right there. You can just barely see it. Now I'll go ahead and put the board back down and I'll be right back. Okay, now the circuit board is secured but down with 4 FM screws. Now this is very imperative. You should go ahead and check all your connectors to make sure they are all pushed down and locked in place like they should be. I actually found one that was loose. Alright, let's move on. Now I went ahead and plugged in all the wires for the bridge, and wire bundle A got plugged in right here, second to the last plug. Wire bundle B got plugged in on the last plug right there. You can see that. And then C got plugged in second row up. The next in line opened up plug right there. Okay, we'll go ahead and assemble our impulse engine on the right side here, and doesn't matter if you do right or left, but this is what I'm going to do because it's closest to me. So this wire bundle here is the one that's already plugged into that light board, and we're going to install this LED light into the impulse light and reflector. You can see there are 2 pieces. Now the light and reflector get held down just like that, so you don't have to glue it. You can glue it if you want, but you really don't have to glue it, and it's going to be held down with screws. But we need to insert our light, LED light, first. Okay, so that will go into it, and I bent a LED so it's kind of out of the way, and it's going to be held in place with our light lens, and then we'll press that down, all being held together, and 2 AP screws are going to hold it together. And there you go. That's how that looks. I'll go ahead and do the other side, and I'll be right back. And there you go, all screwed down. Looks great. Like I said, no glue is required for that. Next we're going to work on the little battery box, and that's just for a little watch battery type battery. We're going to go ahead and put the nut in. There's a nut that came in a cover, and then that's going to go right down in there. I'm going to go ahead and put the cover down on that and secure it with 2 AP screws. And there you go, the cover is down and secure with the 2 AP screws. That's how that looks. That's all I do with stage 55. Let's head over and get started on stage 56. Okay, moving on to the next stage, stage 56. Here's the parts that we received with that, and these happen to be the phaser array. We also received the lower nacelle, as you can see. 56 will install the phaser array parts and aft formation lights, then install a vital switch for the battle section. That's the area there, and we'll begin with phaser array there. then the next phaser array, and the next one there, and the next one there. Then we'll put on the red formation light and the battery for the battle section switch itself, which we just assembled previously. And there's the green phaser, or the formation light itself. Secure down that battery switch, on and off switch, and that's what that will look like. They talk about port and starboard. The best way to remember that is port has 4 letters, and so does left. So port is left. Let's look at the parts for stage 56, and you can see we have the phaser arrays here and along with the bottom of the nacelle. Let's get a closer look. CP, DM, and GM screws. Here's the formation lights. I put them on top there so you can see the color, the green and the red. And we have our nacelle, which is made of metal. Very nice, very impressive there. First time we've received something like that. And then our phaser arrays. They are actually numbered. This is 1, 2, and 3, and this is 6, 7, and 8. Go ahead and start the phaser arrays. Number 1 will go in first, and that just goes down like that. We'll turn it over and put AP screws on the other side. There'll be 3 of them. The 3 screws were put in. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. They were easily accessible. I'll go ahead and put the rest of the phaser arrays in and put all the screws in, and I'll be right back and show you what I did. Next, I installed the formation lights, and I installed the starboard green light, which is the right side. And no glue is required, but I may secure it down with some glossy accent. It dries clear. And then on the port side, I installed the red light, port for left. Next, I installed the little watch battery compartment onto the nacelle, and the compartment itself, I used 2 screws there, the GM screws right here, a little bit of oil also, and then for the on and off switched, I use 2 DM screws, and like I said, with some oil to help that along. That's what it looks like on that side. Very nice. And that completes stage 56. We did a lot here. It looks great. Let's move on over and get started on stage 57. Alright, moving along in pack 15, we'll look at the parts for stage 57 and received upper frames. This time we're going to start on those infamous upper frames. We also received a PCB board and some wiring harnesses and a switch. And we'll start off installing the lock spring for the nacelle, and that helps lock the nacelle in place, makes it removable if necessary. Then we'll install our third PCB board, and we'll add the wiring for that along with the power switch. We'll also plug in a few lights that weren't plugged in previously. We'll make sure we get those connected, and we'll tidy up some of the wiring. And just as before, these tie straps, I'm going to leave them loose. I won't snug them down at all, but we need to tidy up some of this wiring here. And also test out some lights here that we plugged in, new lights. So we're going to turn on our switch with the battery control. And next we'll assemble the lower skeletal frame, number 4, and we'll be using FM screws for that. So let me get the parts and I'll be right back. Here's parts pack for 57. We have our switch there and wiring, spring assembly, PCB board, and our frame number 4. Let's get a closer look. Okay, so we have our frame assembly number 4 that they talked about and you can see it has a specific curve to it. That's really cool there. And finally, this is a welcome sight. I waited a long time to get to this point. We have our next PCB board, left it in the plastic. We'll be installing that. Here's our lock and spring assembly for the nacelle. Here's our power switch, some wire ties, AM, BM, and FM screws. And I installed the lock spring for the nacelle, and you can see where that goes in this very aft one here. Put a cover down on top of that to lock everything in place. AM screws go into that. And there you go. The cover is installed and the locking pin goes in and out, as you can see. Alright, we're going to go ahead and install the next PCB board, and I need to put our wire in for plugging in the two boards together. It ties them in, and it's actually going to get plugged in here on the corner of this board. Just like that. That's what that looks like there. Alright, the next PCB board has been installed with 4 FM screws, and you can see that. Now we'll take our power wire that we plugged in previously. We're going to plug it into this terminal here in the upper left corner there. And there it is. Now we'll go ahead and plug in some more wires. We'll go ahead and put the switch in first. We're going to take our wire with the switch on it, and we're going to plug it into SW1 on the larger board. We have 3 boards. We're going to put it on the bigger board right here. And you can see here it's been plugged into SW1 right there. So this is just going to be free floating for now. Next we're going to plug in 5 different wires onto the board. 3 2-pin wires and 2 4-pin wires. Okay, the 3 2-pin wires were installed and 2 4-pin wires were installed right here, and looks great. I went ahead and tidied up a bunch of the wires with tie straps right here, right there. I left them loose, you know, so the wires can be adjusted. I also put a tie strap over here, and there's a tie strap further over right there that was put in previously, but everything is tidied up and ready to go for our next little bit of action here. Now we're going to go ahead and test out the lights once again. So we need to plug in our battery. Okay, I took a little battery box here and I plugged it in right there in the larger board. Now we'll go ahead and flip this over and do a light test. Okay, so not able to get the whole thing in, but I'll move it around for you. So we have the battery plugged in and we have our little power switch here. I'll go ahead and turn it on, and I'll go ahead and kill the overhead light. Wow, very impressive. So any light leaks you'll see, I will fix that later on, and I'll show you what I'll do with that at the end, but I want to make sure everything is assembled before I go after some of these little light leaks in the cracks and crevices. And I'm told they're not really that noticeable anyway from a distance, but look at that. That is impressive. Very impressive. Wow. Very nice. Alright, let's go ahead and continue with this stage. Alright, we're going to be installing the first frame, the upper frame, and like I was saying, it has a great shape, a saucer shape there, right? So obviously this is the top side here, and this is the bottom side. Now we're going to key in off this little slot right here that's on the front of the saucer. And that's going to be our center part. Now, it's actually going to, those frames will mount to these areas here. Okay? You can see that right there. And then on the bottom, there's some mounts on the frame. Those are different size screws. We got to pay close attention that we're not pinching any of the wires down there. Okay? Alright, so I'll go ahead and install it, and I'll be right back and I'll show you what I did. Okay, 4 FM screws were put in first. These are the ones here on the bottom. And I took care that none of the wires are being pinched in between. Now we'll go ahead and start putting our screws in on top. Now these are all BM screws that will go in up above. They're a little bit of smaller screw, so we'll also take care with those. Okay, I have started all the screws, but I haven't tightened them down yet. They are all started though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And of course the rest are those FM screws down below. I'll go ahead and tighten them down from there. All the screws are tight. I did use 3-in-1 oil to help me along with that, and that really helps. Also, pay attention to your switch. I moved that to where it's over on the opposite side of the saucer, and it won't affect us here. So that completes stage 57. Let's go ahead and get started on the final stage for this pack, stage 58. Now let's go ahead and look at the parts for stage 58, which is the final stage for pack 15. Here's the parts. Lots of wire harnesses going on there. So stage 58, we're going to install the other lock spring for the nacelle. We're going to run a wire harness, looks like over there on B. And we'll look at that as we go along. It looks like it's an LED light. Again, we're going to run more LED lights. And I believe these are the lights for the formation lights, the LEDs are. So that's what they are. One for each side. And that's what that's showing. I'll show you that. Here's the other side, and where it plugs in on the board for both of them there. We saw that. And we're going to put our next skeleton in. And actually these are the lower skeletons. If I said upper, I apologize. So these are the lower skeletons that we're working on. And this is skeleton number 5. It's going to be done much the same way as the other one. And then they want us to do a light test once again. And it gives you a little bit of system diagnostics. So if there's anything going on there, the first thing you want to do is change your batteries out. So if your batteries are pretty old, you know, that's the first thing you want to go after is your batteries. The next thing you want to go after obviously is all your connectors. Make sure they're plugged in. Make sure none of your screws actually broke the wires or pinched them. So I haven't seen any issues with mine. So let me get the parts and I will be right back. Here's the parts for 58. Lots of harnesses in there. And then the lower frame number 5. Let's get a closer look. Here's a close-up of those parts. Here's our lower frame number 5. Looks great. And we have our locking tab for the nacelle. We're going to put that in, and all our wiring for the LEDs. So we'll pay attention to that as we go. AM, BM, and FM screws. Okay, the spring and plunger is inserted. Make sure it functions like it should. And then we'll put the cover on and lock everything down, putting our 2 AM screws into that. Okay, the cover is on. I did have to file down the area where that pin slides in and out a little bit. Having doing so, I went ahead and put some Vaseline in there to lubricate it so it won't stick, because it was sticking before. Now it doesn't stick. Works like it should. So there you go. Next we're going to plug in this wire here, which is the black and red wire. It's the smallest wire we got. It's an LED. And this is for the front formation light, which is going to come out the front here. So we need to route it, just like they say, underneath the frames that we just installed previously. around onto our circuit board, and it's going to get plugged in right beside the other two plugs right there. Give you a closer view. And looking at these other two plugs that are already plugged in, it's going to plug in the third one over right there. So I have to use my tweezers for this. Okay, that was a little fiddly to get it in there, but I got it in there using one of these tweezers here. Not a problem if you don't have any power on the board using that. And we'll follow our wire down, and it's simply just going to come out right over here. I think I want to tuck it under some of these wires first. There we go. And just like that. Okay, so it's completely out of the way, and that's our front formation light. Now we'll do the other wires. Okay, let's identify a couple of these wires we're going to install. The first one is 58F. 58F is the longer wire, but it has a 4 connector plug on it, even though there's only 2 wires hooked up to it. So that's 58F. The other long wire is this one here, and that's 58G. Now it only has a 2 plug connector for 2 wires. So that's the difference between those 2 wires. Now 58F is going to plug into our large board, and it's going to go in on what we call the port side, the right side, and it's going to get plugged in right here in that terminal. It's marked with a W. Okay, so it's plugged in. Now I need to feed the wires all the way around to where it reaches my formation light on the other side, the green formation light. Okay, it's all been successfully fed over to this formation light right here. Now we'll go ahead and run the other side. Now we'll go ahead and take our 58G, which was the longer wire but only with the 2 connector plug, and it's going to go right beside the other one, the 4, but this is for the 2. And we got to route that over to the starboard side, the right side, and we got to run it through underneath everything to go all the way over to our formation light. Okay, I've successfully routed that wire underneath all the frames that it could fit underneath all the wiring, and now here it is for the starboard side, or the green side or the right side. Now we have 2 58Es that are both exactly the same, and these run off our formation lights on the sides. Okay, so we just got finished up doing the front and the 2 back. Now these are the sides. So they will get plugged in on the board right here, 1 on each plug here. 1 will run to the starboard and 1 will run to the port. Okay, both 58E wires were plugged in, and you can see that here. And I ran them to the sides. These are formation lights, remember. I ran them all the way over and ready to go on this side here, which is our port side or left side. Going back to the other one, I'm going to run it to the starboard side. So I ran it all the way over, and you can see where I ran it to the starboard side. Okay, I just put tape down to kind of lock them in place. And remember, we did the one up front also. And we have the two in the back. This one here, and that one there. Now I'll go ahead and do a functional check of the formation lights. We already checked the other lights, so we're mainly looking at the formation lights, okay? Now we're looking at the front one to stay on steady, and the two side ones to flash, along with the two back ones to flash. So let me turn on the switch and we'll see what we get here. Okay. On. Okay, so we have steady light up front, two side formation lights flashing, and two back lights flashing. So that is a success. That completes stage 58, and that completes pack 15. Fantastic. I'll be right back. And there you go. That was fun. That completes pack 15. I had a blast building this. This is a lot of fun, and I can't wait to proceed on, and you'll see that here coming up very shortly. Pack 16 is on hand, so I'll be doing that and showing you step by step how to do this. So I hope what I showed you helped you out, and in the future with your Millennium Falcon build. If you haven't done so already, head over to FanHome and subscribe to this today. It's a fantastic build. I put a link in the description below. Click on that link. Lets FanHome know you're watching my videos. Anyway, if you like my content, please subscribe to my channel and smash that like button. Happy modeling, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Take care.